Shut up and sit down.
Welcome once again to the Shite podcast show. Mark and Ken, episode 187
What's the story?
of the Shite podcast show.
Love and life.
Three away.
What?
I said 3 away from 190.
Yeah, it feels like it's like 187 since we've gone into lockdown.
Yeah, do you know, we're just craping through the 187s. Like, it's like our podcast doesn't want to get to 204.
I wonder why.
Just giant letdown of a podcast that we're going to do.
It knows what's coming.
It's a disaster. Do you know, and as we get through, I think today's show is like extremely odd stories, even for the Shite Talk podcast show.
That's a big statement.
We're going to go down some weird alleyways, and
not those kind of alleyways.
And it's going to get uncomfortable for probably me and Ken and you too. So if you want to hold on to your seats, if you're a new listener, don't worry, we're not always like this.
Yes, we are.
yeah, we are. This is generally what we talk about. But yeah,
if this is your first show.
Yeah,
sorry.
Well, we're sorry. We've everything from people injecting stock cubes into their ass to a man nailing himself into a wooden box to get back home from Australia, and everything in between. We'll be talking about a woman with 2 vaginas, a man who will only date people over the age of 60, a French guy who can't actually speak French, and possibly a weird birthday story as well. But we don't know about the weird birthday story. We'll see. If we're stuck, we'll do the weird birthday story.
Yeah, see what we have time for.
Yeah, exactly. Last week we completely overshot ourselves. We tried to get 7 stories done and we got 3. So we had a lot of stories left over for our show this week. But yeah, I just think, like, looking through the show, I just think we're just going to go down. So I can already see where this show is going to go. Like, you generally will start off with a topic and it'll end up something very, very different from where we started.
Yeah, that's kind of our thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's our thing. And when it comes to like someone who has 2 vaginas, or someone who only they 60, people over the age of 60, I can only imagine where that is going to lead to. Trouble. But yeah, I think we'll start off with maybe on a lighter note. We're just, like, I like to ease people into the weirdness. We start off with something very gentle, and then we generally up the ante of the weirdness. Ken generally would like to get the shock horror factor in over and done with, but I think on this show we're going to start off with the guy who got really homesick when he was living in Australia and decided that he would get the help of 2 Irish lads in order to get him home. Maybe, I don't know if he paid, but definitely cheaper way than it would have cost.
There's always Irish lads involved, isn't there?
There really is. But like, if you're ever stuck in a little pickle and you want to do something that's maybe a little bit illegal, find 2 Irish lads. One of them's definitely going to be up for it, and he'll convince his friend to fucking just cop onto himself. And they'll help you out. They don't mind risking their neck for some friend or mild acquaintance.
Yeah, or some guy you just met in a bar.
Yeah. So your man was Brian Robinson, and I should say that this story didn't happen recently. This story happened in 1965. Brian was 19 years old and was living in Victoria. He was working on the railways in Australia and became incredibly homesick. Now, like back then, like we probably all know people who live in Australia. If you're Irish, large population moved to Australia a few years ago during the kind of global crash. But like, flights, okay, are expensive. But like nowadays, people can send you money quite quickly. People back home aren't as poor as they were. So even if you're stuck for money, like, you probably get your family to send you over the money that you need to get yourself home. And based off of like what people earn, like getting home from Australia isn't that bad. Back then it was £700, which was 17 months' wages. that he would have had to save up in order to try to get him home. So it probably wasn't feasible for him to fly home. And remember, he probably wasn't able to ring anyone back in England. The only time he'd ever be able to like get in contact with his family was probably by a letter. So once you left for like America or Canada or Australia back then, that was it. You weren't coming home because you're probably not going to be able to afford the flights.
It's not mentally. Isn't that just like mad to think?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're 19 years old, like I have two sisters living in Australia, and like we'd be on to them nearly every day. We'd be talking to them on like Messenger or Skype or Zoom. We constantly ring them, and like it's now free to ring people of using these like video apps. So,
yeah, it's mad. Like,
yeah, it's mad to just think. And like, if you were a mother or a father, like the idea that like your 18-year-old son would go on a plane to the other side of the world, and you knew that you weren't going to ever see them ever again. More than likely,
you don't even know if he got there.
Yeah, you don't know if he got there. Like they might send you a letter. God knows how long that would have taken to get to you. And that'd be the only thing. It'll be like, oh yeah, in Australia now, and that might be 6 months after he arrived. Just arrived in Australia, so you'd be waiting for months on end to hear back from if the person had arrived. And like he was like a very young man when he left, 19 years old, and like his family probably thought that's probably the last time we'll see him again. Like 17 months' wages to get him home. He probably had to save several years in order to get over to Australia, or possibly get loans off people in order to get him to it. So like it must have been really hard for people like that who started, because it's nearly I don't know what the percentage of it, but generally hear two people who moved to Australia, they'll love it, and like they couldn't see themselves living anywhere else. And then there's other people who were there for like a year and they just come incredibly homesick. So if you are the latter, if you are that person who moves away from your family and just comes incredibly homesick, this is going to first of all resonate with you, but just imagine being in that situation where you know you're never going to get home, or you believe that it's really, really going to be really, really hard for you to get home. Lucky enough, he came across two Irish guys called John and Paul. He thinks that's what their name is. He doesn't really sure, but he's like nearly 100% sure they're called John and Paul. He doesn't know their surnames.
I'm sensing alcohol in this story.
Yeah, like well, he said he used to work with them on the railway. So I imagine there eventually was alcohol involved, like in their travels. Like they probably went to a few drinks after. He probably brought them to a pub to convince them to go along with this.
Yeah.
And so like he convinced, like first of all, I think Paul was like 100% against it. He was like, no, this is stupid. You'll get caught. And then John was kind of like, it'd be grand. Like, come on, we'll help him out. Like, fucking
stop being a dick.
Yeah, exactly. And once he got John on board, he convinced Paul there to stop being a dick. And then eventually Paul went along with it to help him out. So he bought a crate, packed it with, like, the crate was only the size of a mini fridge, and he packed it with a pillow. See, this is where I don't know if maybe it was just misinterpreted. He said he packed it with a pillow, Beatles songs, and a suitcase. Then he has one for drinking and one for urinating in. So I don't know if he had two suitcases, where one he kept bottles that he was going to drink from, and the other was packed with bottles that he's going to urinate in. But like, you're on a hope, you don't mix up.
How do you know how many bottles he's going to need?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how long, if he presumed that he would be in cargo for, but like, imagine, like, you could easily spend a month like waiting to be shipped off. Like, you first of all, like, the book the crate down as computer and book supplies. So that's going to be sent to a warehouse to be processed, and then it's going to be put with a load of other crates that are going to England. Now, if they're by chance a plane going out to England, you're probably going to be loaded on within a day or two onto that plane, and then you're going to fly. Maybe you might fly to like Abu Dhabi or somewhere else where you might be left in a storage area to go to England. That one mightn't be directly going to like England, and more than likely back in 1965 it definitely wasn't going directly to England because of plane technology. That was probably going to fly to somewhere else, be offloaded and put on a different plane and then fly. So you could be another like day or two flying off there. You might get out in the day, but then it could be like 4 or 5 days before you, if all going well, if you actually make it to like England or London.
Yeah, like he took a big risk, really, that he wasn't going to die in transit.
But yeah, by the sounds of it, he didn't actually bring any food either. So if I was stuck in a crate, this is kind of, if you're stuck in the island, what would you bring? Like, he brought music, pillows, and bottles of water, but he didn't bring any food. I thought that was a little bit odd. And he didn't want to really feel the need that he wanted to shit, because he didn't want to be in there with his own shit. So he gave him 3 days before, he took laxatives so he wouldn't be caught out while on the plane. So he obviously knew he was going to be there for a few days and didn't want to really need to have to take a shit. So he obviously just said, I'll go without food. Yeah. So he booked a Qantas flight from Melbourne to London. But what happened was the plane was too full. So his package didn't actually get put on the plane. It got re-diverted to a Pan Am's flight that was going to Los Angeles. And it was flown to America, where he was left in storage for America. I think he was left for storage in America for about 5 days.
How long did the whole trip take?
I don't really know how long it took for getting on the flight, but he said he was in storage for about 5 days in the box. Oh no, he'd been stuck in the box for about 5 days. So getting to America, he's about in the box for about 5 days. So
that's a long time to go without food.
Yeah, no, only to survive on water as well. Yeah, he became incredibly weak because of lack of food, sitting in a box for fucking 5 days. Like the patience that you would have had to go through, like just the length of time, and the fact that he couldn't have got. You would have thought like maybe if they were smart, they would have had like a trap door kind of thing, so the box looked like a seal. But you could, like when you're on the plane, you could get out when you're in the sky and just like stretch your legs if there wasn't anybody around, and just move around, maybe get food, go to the toilet while you're in the warehouse, get back into your box. Like really sneakily, because
what a mad bastard.
Yeah, so luckily enough, while he was in Los Angeles, he became incredibly weak that he couldn't actually like hammer himself out. Like he couldn't break open the box and try to escape. But there was a hole obviously in it for probably air. There was a man who looked through that hole to see what was in the box and seen a pair of eyes looking back up at him. And he jumped back about a mile, thinking, "There's a fucking dead body in this box." So he spent 5 days recovering in a hospital in Los Angeles, where then he was questioned by the FBI, and what the fuck are you doing in the box? How did you get?
Two Irish lads posted me.
Yeah, where did you come from? And he's like, I came from Australia and trying to get back to the US. I'm going to the UK. Like, you're a long way off the UK, lad. But after he recovered, he was sent back. He was led aboard a passenger jet. I wonder if maybe they just because obviously you have to deport him. Do they pay for the flight? The US they have to pay for the flight or something. Well, I wonder how it works. That's what I was also in.
I think when you get deported, you have to pay for the flight, don't you?
If you have no money, though, which I presume he didn't. Probably definitely not enough money to pay.
I'm assuming they probably send your family a bill, or there's probably some way to.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this obviously after he was caught in the crate, and this made international news. Like a man found in a crate, flown over from Australia, trying to get back to the UK, ended up in Los Angeles, caused a bit of a media stir. So maybe the US department paid for the flight for him so he could get home, or the UK.
Right, the British Embassy probably brought him home, actually.
Yeah. So maybe the British Embassy paid for his flight to get him home. People gave him money in order to try to get a flight home because he felt bad for him in America or in the UK, because he did end up going on interviews for like why he wanted to go home and blah blah blah. This, because of the media attention, this actually brought the attention to the Australian governor or MP at the time was Dan McKinnon, and he strongly wanted to prosecute him because of this actions, and he wanted legal action taken against him and called him a useless young man. But but like eventually it was dropped and no action was taken against him. The reason why we're talking about this was because he wants to reconnect with the two Irish lads, John and Paul, who actually helped him escape Australia. He sent them a letter once he got home, letting them know that he eventually got home and probably his adventures in the US. And
them two lads could be dead.
Yeah, well, they never responded after the letter. They never sent him back a letter. So like you never heard from them again. I imagine that like, well, they probably are pretty old. Maybe they're still in Australia, but reached out to like an Irish radio attention to. I imagine a few radio stations wanted to get in contact with your man and find out the details of it. And yeah, but like no one has come forward yet about being the two guys that nailed him into the box and sent him on his way. Good luck to you, lad.
Maybe they're scared.
They probably are.
Maybe they got prosecuted. They're in jail somewhere, fucking sending some lad off in a fucking crate.
No, they had an idea and they're like, this actually could be a lucrative business.
They got into fucking
international human trafficking
with a twist.
Yeah, so like, they're looking enough, but like, it's just like, imagine how he felt when he was like in the US, had no idea where he was, got like completely lost, and didn't know like how, like sitting in the crate, like realizing that like, well, he probably didn't know that he was in the US until like he got out of the crate, but just feeling so stranded.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever been in a situation where you're like, you went somewhere and you're like, you didn't know where the fuck you were and didn't know how the fuck you're going to get home?
It's probably happened a couple of times, yeah.
Do you know, this is where, like, lucky enough, it didn't happen like when I was going internationally. But like, I remember I heard one of my friends, he only started driving at the time, and he got lost on the M50, so he had to pull in and ring his dad for help. And his dad
that's happened to me a few times.
Yeah, and had to like get his dad. Like obviously this is for like sat navs, and had to get his dad to find him on the motorway. But this is just on the M50, just like it's just a straight road.
I can't remember where we were. We were somewhere, and we got lost. And Alien's dad's a truck driver.
Yeah.
So we rang him. We're like, where the fuck are we?
This is what dads are for. Like, mom's like, whatever. you break out and you go to your mom. You like, something happens to you, you go to your mom. You get lost, you ring your dad, or you ring someone's dad. Someone's dad.
Something, like if something really bad happens.
Yeah.
It's dad territory.
Yeah, I remember I was going to Swords, and I only recently started driving as well, and so I couldn't use the motorway. And so I decided to go through town in order to get to Swords, or that's Dublin town, by the way, for people. Town, where's town? Dublin city centre, I should say. Anyway, so I asked my dad for directions. He goes, "All right, so what you do is you come up beside, it's the largest prison in Ireland. It's called Mountjoy. So you come up by Mountjoy prison, right? And there's a hospital on your right hand side. Mountjoy's on your left, right? You cannot miss it. Take a left at the next set of traffic lights." I go past it. I didn't know where I was. I went straight past the prison. I didn't know where I was. I went over some bridge. You know where Bord Gáis Energy Theatre is.
Yeah.
That had just been built. That had just been refurbished and looked on new. I went past that and a bridge, and I came to a post office. And I didn't know where I was, and I was like, pulled into the side road, panicking, rang my dad, and I was like, I went over a bridge, and there's that energy theatre building, and there was like, I'm beside the post office, and lucky enough, he knew exactly where I was. And he was like, okay, from there, what you do is you turn around, and he goes, how did you go past I was like, I didn't see any prison. He goes, it's the largest prison in Ireland. How did you not see it? There would have been police everywhere. And on the other side of the road, there would have been doctors and ambulances. I was like, yeah, no, I don't know how I didn't see it, but like, I just didn't see it. So for next like several weeks, I was getting so much shit off that. I was like, largest prison in Ireland, you cannot see it.
Mark misses it.
Giant 10-foot wall. Security on the top with guns. In Ireland, no, you don't see these things in there. Yeah, no, I didn't see it. Also it's very heavily signposted, like where the turn is as well. When I got to know the road, I was like, oh, how did I miss all these signs? So yeah, it's just like, yeah, we've all been there. Not quite as like he has. Like our stories feel very, 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 very like small in comparison to like nailing yourself in a box and going and ending up in the US when you're trying to get home.
Hoping for the best.
Yeah, so like I just thought it was it was a very interesting story, and maybe one of our listeners, because we have listeners in Australia and we have listeners in Ireland, so maybe one of our listeners know their uncle or dad or granddad told them of the time where they nailed a UK man in a box and sent him on his way and has no idea if he got home or not. So it's like, he could be possibly dead. Or maybe you have an uncle or a granddad in jail who was arrested for human trafficking, which it's arguably what they could have been prosecuted under. Yeah, so like maybe it's better off they stay quiet, they keep their heads down.
Yeah, maybe they're better off.
You don't know what the Australian government will attempt. But another odd story, and it's one that you found on this week. You actually arguably got more stories than me this week. Is around a guy who is a certain type of person that they're attracted to, and like everybody has their type. Some people are into skinny girls, small girls, fat boys, large boys, small. Everyone has their. There's probably like that. There's someone out there for everyone. This guy has a very weird fetish when it comes to his ideal mate, and he prefers them on the older side of things. Like, how old does he prefer them, Ken?
So this guy was on. Do you ever watch that show, My Strange Addiction?
No. I always say like shows like that are on usually like 1:00 in the afternoon on a weekday. They are designed for the unemployed or people who are seeking injury benefits.
I've seen this show.
I rest my case.
Anyway,
yeah. So he was on strange addictions.
Yeah, so his name is Kyle Jones. He was on an episode that was about guys who, I don't think it's really an addiction. It's more of a preference.
Yeah.
Guys who are obsessed with dating older women.
Yeah.
Poor old Kyle here. He's 31. Well, when he appeared in the show, he was 31. Would not date any woman under the age of 60. The girl that he was going out with at the time, or the woman, was 91.
And what were people like saying to him when they seen them arm in arm or on a date?
I'm assuming people thought it was his granny.
Yeah. Oh, that's what a nice young man bringing his nan for a nice Nando's.
Like, and he said it started when he was 18, and he became obsessed with his teacher who was 50.
See, I understand people becoming attracted to people of power, like, you know, that, or people are like like there's definitely teachers out there who aren't that great looking that you develop such a strong attraction to, and it's just that idea of they're kind of just that power thing of that, like, okay, they're not that attractive, but you're just staring at them for such a long periods of time, and they garner so much attention that people become strangely attracted to teachers. So I can understand necessarily an older teacher who's like maybe not that good looking, but like you develop a strange attraction to.
Yeah, that's when this started.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he said, oh, they asked him like what it is exactly he likes about them,
Yeah.
and he said, "I love everything about them: the smell, the feel, the mentality. I love dentures. Women can be self-conscious about dentures, but I promise you, ladies, telling your man you have dentures is a turn on, not a turn off.
Yeah.
It'll put a smile. It'll put a smile on his face and a smile in his pants."
Yeah, so I imagine that, like, the idea of a woman with no teeth. I can see there is some necessary advantages to that. That he might be trying to like take advantage of. And like, does he say like what does his parents think when he's like brings home a woman who's older than they are?
I don't know. He doesn't really say.
Because if he was a woman, if he was a girl, and she was 18, and she was going out with a 90-year-old, she'd be called a gold digger. She'd be called like a grave robber. Like she's like there'd be like all sorts of like nasty stereotypes thrown at him. So does he get the same kind of treatment where someone thinks, all right, he's going out with this 90-year-old woman because look at she might fall madly in love with him and want to give him her house or leave her a large chunk of her will?
Like he's he doesn't go into that part of it, but he says that his oh Jesus Christ, he's so weird. He says that his sex life with older women is passionate and vigorous.
Passionate and vigorous.
Yeah.
As long as he like gets a lot of fucking lube.
And he said that
I imagine like he buys crates loads of lube.
This is where he's probably being called a misogynist, right? So here we go. This is the quote that's going to get him in trouble. So he said, "Women my age, it's not that I don't recognize that they're attractive, because of course they are. It's just I look at them and I think they're not ripe yet."
They're not ripe yet. Yeah, no, it's weird. Yeah, I like.
They're not ripe yet.
Yeah, the fact that you go, because most people will go to a certain age, or like if you go over, let's say 3 years, so the person's 3 years older than you. Like a lot of people will go, oh, 3 years, that's a bit of this difference. When realistically it isn't. Very few people change over a space of 10 years, let alone 3 years. But imagine if like you're in your 60s and you are like 21, like you'd have nothing in common. And then there is a whole, hello in there kind of. She's had a few kids.
And she's probably fucking half bothered.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I imagine their sex drive isn't that much. Maybe I'm wrong.
Passionate and vigorous.
Passionate and vigorous. Yeah. And like he must find it hard to find women in their 60s that want to get with like an 8-year-old weirdo. Does he say it's kind of hard to find? Like
he says, he finds most of them on just some website he uses. What's this website called? Does it say what the website's called? No, it doesn't say what it's called.
All right.
He uses some website.
I don't know. Antiques Roadshow. Mass. Is it Mass? Does he like? Is Mass how he picks up these women?
Yeah, online Mass.
Online Mass. He goes on the Zoom prayer group. Looking for recently deceased widows, age 65 and older. You know those hotlines that you used to be able to ring up with girls who would talk dirty to you.
Yeah.
There's probably a hotline there of like people who are in their 60s.
Old grannies.
Yeah, exactly. Like, in fairness to him, there's probably 60, 65, 70-year-old women who just love a chat. Just love someone to talk. Just love someone to talk to. Like, he could probably just ring them and he's like try to talk to them. They're like, yes, I have to take this medication now. That's for my heart. And like,
and your man's going, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have diabetes?
I'll get your heart racing. And she's like, yeah, the weather's quite hot. She wouldn't be able to understand you. Like, she doesn't. She'd be like half deaf and refusing to use her hearing aid. And she'd be like, what? You don't know hot? She'll miss like 30% of their conversation at the best of times. It seems very, very odd.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Yeah, you every now and again you come across lads with really weird like fetishes for like certain women.
And this is it.
This has to be one of the worst. I've definitely seen other programs like it is definitely a thing. It's obviously not as popular as some other fetishes, but like, yeah, there is definitely a market there for like lads who are like in their early 20s and women who are in their like 70 plus, 75 plus.
There's a market for it.
Yeah, but you're never going to have a long-term relationship with these people, especially if you're dating 95-year-olds. We're with each other for a fine 3 years until she died.
Yeah, like, I wonder, does that play into it? Is part of it because he's like, this one's going to die soon?
Yeah, like,
I'd like to see how many of his girlfriends have died.
Yeah, it's a weird statistic.
Especially if he's having like vigorous sex with them.
Yeah, if he's into also other weird things like strangulation, chain thread, like that, yeah, he could find himself into a lot of hot water really quickly.
Like, what's he at? What's he up to?
Yeah, it seems very, very strange that like I guess whatever makes him happy though. Like, should we judge though? Should we be like saying this thing, or is it if he finds a woman who's 75 and is happy to be have a bit of company, her family doesn't want to see her anymore, she's that or else go to a home, and like she finds this 18-year-old lad who wants to like bring her to Nando's and show her a good time.
I don't know how old your nanny is, but like imagine your nanny came back with a guy who was 60 years younger than her.
Yeah, if you imagine your nan who's like maybe in her 70s or 80s, and she comes home with this 21-year-old lad, and he's like kissing her on the cheek, calling her babe, and you're like
you're going to be asking questions.
You're like, come here, you.
Yeah, what's going on here?
What are you up to? You're not getting anything.
It's my fucking inheritance, right?
You're not getting a thing. But like, you would be having a conversation with your mother, like, or your grandmother. You'd be like, here, look at, okay, do what you want, but like, put in precautions here. Like, this guy could be only going after your wealth, or I don't know how well off especially if your nan was really wealthy, you'd definitely be really suspicious of it.
Yeah, like, I think he's up to something.
I was always told to find a person with land.
A great frontage.
Yeah, exactly. Frontage is worth its weight in gold. So if he could find a 8-year-old woman with frontage, you know, like
you're short.
You know, like it might be like a 3-5 year investment, and then look at that land.
Find out how much the land is worth.
Yeah. Apply for planning permission. Just you get 2 years before you actually have to dig a hole. Yeah, just lay the foundations, leave it there for a while, let it grow in value. But yeah, it is weird. It's almost weird as a person who has 2 vaginas.
Person who has 2 vaginas now is fairly weird.
Yeah, now, what is this? And not only does she have 2 vaginas, she didn't know about the second vagina.
This is a TikTok video.
Did she show the second vagina?
There's like a TikTok challenge where you're supposed to tell a story about things that doctors have completely ignored when there was clearly something wrong. So this woman, Brittany Jacobs is her name, decided that she was going to win. I think she kind of has probably won this. When she was pregnant with her first child at the age of 25, she was very far in. She was 30 hours into labor. The midwife was kind of like, hang on, we have a problem here. You've got two vaginas, two cervixes, and two uteruses. You're one, like Brittany was like, yeah, nobody ever told me that.
What? Like,
And,
what an odd thing they only told now.
yeah, and she said like it made sense then when she thought about it, because she had been going to the doctor saying that sex was really, really painful. She had 2 periods every month, but they were like 2 separate periods. And she like the doctor was always kind of like, yeah, there's nothing really weird. And her pregnancy, her bump was weird because it was only on one side of her body.
Oh, is this lopsided pregnancy?
Yeah, and so she was like, what the fuck? And she had gone for like smear tests and stuff, and nobody ever mentioned this.
Yeah, because like surely when they did do the smear test, you're going to find out that like here, Ollie, this is why it's lopsided.
Yeah, like she said that the way that she described it is basically like the septum of your nose. So like the outside, the first 2 inches on the outside look normal, and then when you go 2 inches in, it separates like the septum in your nose. She's got like 2 vaginal canals.
Yeah, so some lads mightn't even never seen the second one. Then found the second one. That is insane. That like people have. I know there was a baby recently enough born with like 3 penises.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like that baby is destined for a life of porn. See, like her second vagina is hidden away, so she can't really show it off. But like 3 penises is gonna be like, how will that kid?
It's weird though. That, like she never. Like I wonder, has she ever like had sex where they've used the like obviously one or the other, and she's been kind of like, oh, it feels different.
Like you say, well, it was like 2 inches. 2 inches inside was the second one.
Yeah, no. The 2 inches inside is where they separate.
Oh, where they separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like the other one is 2 inches away from the other.
They're about 3 millimeters away from each other.
Oh, 3 millimeters away from each other. Oh, yeah, exactly. But if they don't line up, like, you're not going to be getting too far in. That'll be like, is there something wrong here?
Like they're side by side, like.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah. So they're not overlapping. There's not one like they're not standing in a row.
No, it's like your nostrils.
Then obviously like the lad's never going to get near the second one.
Yeah, but like obviously, like one's on the left, one's on the right. You'd wonder if
he went at a certain angle, could he get both?
Yeah, like so. Have they only been using one? Have they been using like?
I imagine they're definitely been using one. Like, well, like if they're side by side, then it's only 3 mil difference. Like the angle that you'd need to get into the second one wouldn't really work.
Like, because it's attached up properly. Like the midwife investigated, and like both of them like work
functional. Properly. Yeah.
Both of them are completely functional.
And she only has one bladder. Because imagine peeing.
Like, just weird that like a doctor never went, oh yeah, here, there's something strange here. Like, what sort of a fucking doctor's doing your smear test? Where they're sticking something up there and they're not gone, here, hang on, wait.
Yeah, exactly. We've come across something very, very peculiar. I wonder how common this is. Obviously, it's going to be pretty rare, but like, is she the only girl that has ever been discovered with 2 vaginas?
I don't know.
Well, like I said, like at least they'll all pee out just the one vagina or stuff like that. the guy.
That's what you're taking out of this.
Yeah, well, the guy with 3 penises, right? He has 3. He's 3 of them. He doesn't know which one's going to pee, which one he needs to point at the toilet. Like lads struggle at the best times to pee at one penis.
Are they all functional?
Like, do they all pee at the same time?
Do they all work?
Do they? Yeah. Do they all work? Are they all functional? Like, does he have like one for peeing, one for sex, and then one for his own personal use? Like, and then like, because there's been guys. I think there is a guy who's in porn who has two penises, and I'm nearly certain both of them work. But like 2 is a nice number if you're gonna have more than one penis.
2's a nice number.
Well, because his 2 penises are one on top of the other, so there's 2 holes. You can probably for porn you could probably use it. The third one is either not going to be used or just getting in the way. But if it's still erect, it's going to be causing all sorts of problems.
All sorts of havoc caused there.
Yeah, it was definitely like that kid's just gonna go straight from like high school into like porn. Whereas
he's gonna get some sort of fucking bullying in school, though, isn't he?
How can he get bullied for having more penises?
He's definitely gonna get bullied in school.
I don't know, like.
Come on! So you're saying if you were like a 13, 14-year-old boy, and some guy in your PE class had more than one penis, you're not going to be laughing at him.
I'm not going to be laughing at him. I'm probably going to be fascinated by it. I'm not going to be like...
Lads laugh at each other for having pubes.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be like, what are you going to say? 3 dicks.
Like, I remember people used to like fucking slag me in school because I was one of the first guys to grow a beard.
Oh, you went to a weird ass school. Like, if you had a beard, you
like,
walked around like
thing.
you had even like a half a Ronnie. Like, you walked around like you were God amongst men. You're like, look at this. It's like
that was the fucking thing.
It's it's like guys who like in secondary school. I also noticed this. Like they used to, like, if the light hit them properly, they'd sort of have a 6-pack, and it's just because they're like really thin, and they're like. And they'd be like lifting up their shirt, and then the girls be like, "Oh my god, he has a 6-pack," and he used to be like, you have to get the light to hit it right in order to like actually see the 6-pack. And you'd be I'd imagine if you had 3 penises, you'd be like the guy with the 6-pack in school. They'll like when the light hits it, like his skinny pack, you'd be like, "Oh my god, look what I have."
I don't
know. If guy had 3 penises in my school, he'd be probably. I wouldn't say he'd be pretty cool, but like people wouldn't be slacking him over. He'd be like, "Oh my god, he had 3 penises." He'd be probably showing it to everyone. He'd probably told to keep his pants up.
Did you go to an all boys school?
No, mixed school.
No, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, definitely would have been fucking slagged in my school. He probably would have he probably wouldn't have made it through school alive.
I think like in my school, like I think it was I would have been like, "Oh my god, he has 3 penises! I want to see this."
That explains so much, Mark.
But like, he can like at least make money out of his penises. Like, he can obviously do porn. He could go into like weird body thing shows, and like he could be a builder. Like whereas your one with the 2 vaginas can't monetize this like freakness. All she has is like negativity around having 2 vaginas.
I wonder has she noticed that it feels different when they use the one on the left or the one on the right?
I imagine she only can use the one that's directly like the one that leads to the outside. I know both of them lead to the
but both of them lead to the outside. Like, it's the way that she describes it is it's literally split in the middle.
Oh yeah, so like it possibly could go in the left or right.
Yeah, so it's like a tunnel.
Yeah, and it probably is painful if the lad hits the center, the lining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. It is fucking really weird. Anyway, we must move on, or else we'll never get around to our first ever people from the Congo idiot of the week. And like, come on, these guys.
We've been promising this since last.
Yeah,
week.
the guys like Congo has been waiting a full week now in order to figure out why they're on the idiots of the week. So we must move on.
Do we
And
have any listeners from the Congo?
no, we don't.
Not yet.
Not yet, but we could. And at least now they have a episode that we can point them into. So this is our Idiots of the Week. It's part of the show for idiots, by idiots. And it's where we talk about people doing rather dumb things. And our first story is about a guy who has failed a French exam in Canada. Is a French part of Canada. What part was it from? Was it Phuket?
Quebec.
Quebec. Yeah, where it's mainly French speaking. And in order to get citizenship, you had to do a French exam, show that your French is good enough in order to live in that Phuket, or was it Phuket?
Quebec.
I wouldn't be able to Quebec. I wouldn't be able to live there anyway. I can't even say the fucking place. So your man was from France and moved to wherever is Quebec. So like you would imagine a French exam for him would have been fucking piece of piss.
Yeah, that's what he obviously thought too.
But it wasn't the case. So like, do you have the details of this story?
I have the details of this story. So like this guy, again, he's born in France. He was raised in France. He lived in France for fucking ever. He moved to Quebec. He's been living there for a few years. Decided to take the nationality exam. Took it. Failed it. He passed the audio part. So he passed.
Listening part, yeah.
Oh no, he passed the oral part and the written part.
So like
And
he
he
could
failed.
speak French and he could write. He passed the French
He
written
could
exam.
speak French. He could write French. So like he could have a conversation with you in French. Then he failed the listening part. And
but like, what would the like necessarily listening part like consist of?
I'm assuming it's like, do you remember your French test in
No.
like Leaving Cert? I'm assuming you listen to stuff and you have to translate it.
So Ken, I'm going to let you in a little secret about my secondary school and how it worked. So there was 5 O's. Or 1 you're smart, or 5 you're not so smart. I'm going to let you guess which one I was in. And anyway, or 1 and 2, you could do French or German. Or 3, you're pretty much stuck with just French. Or 4 and 5, you could do French or art. So
You did art. Didn't
so
you?
my language is art. So at least I've never actually done an oral exam, so
Yes.
so you can explain to me what it is. And you know, I do find it really ironic that we're slagging a French lad for failing a French exam out here. Me learning Irish for the first time, and you like you said you've never failed an Irish exam.
Yeah, I never failed an Irish exam.
All right, well done you. But for Irish people to like slag someone about not being able to speak their national language properly, it's a bit of a kettle kind of pot black.
My thing with this is like, obviously he is more than capable of speaking. Like he posted Reddit or something maybe. He said like that his English, like because he made the conscious decision to go to Quebec because the language that they speak in everyday life is French, because his English is not very good. So I'm wondering, did he fail the French test because he could not translate from French to English well enough?
See, that's probably it. Because I'm
That his English wasn't good enough, but instead they're saying, no, your French isn't good enough.
yeah, because like if the audio version is, because obviously if like he had to listen to something and tell them what it was, then he'd have to translate in his own head. He'd have to translate what he heard from French into English. So that would have been the reverse of what the idea of the test was.
Yeah,
Obviously, if like what that test is designed for is English-speaking people coming to Quebec to learn. So they designed for people whose first language it's English, not necessarily French.
bad from that. They told him, your French isn't good enough to live here.
I imagine that guy was alright because he's well. What do you mean my French isn't good enough? I am French. I am French as croissants or like whatever. Love pasta. This is that's Italian.
Pass is Italian.
I know. I know. Jeannie's gonna be so mad.
If she's not mad at you from last week.
Yeah. But like, yeah, it's mad. Was he able to go to France or?
Oh, like he lives there. They wouldn't give him citizenship because they said his French isn't good enough.
So he probably has to go learn English now in order to like pass his exams.
Like that, I just think it's ridiculous.
He should be in like what I imagine most French people are. He's like, "What do you mean I cannot live here? I am French. I own your country." And then don't fuck off. French people, for anyone outside of France, are incredibly ignorant.
Not always.
Always, I'm gonna stereotype an entire country and say that they're all this one way. Because
I found people okay when I was in France.
Oh, really? They're all right. Once they know you're Irish, you're grand. If you're English, I imagine that's a very different.
I think people say the same about like Spanish people and stuff, that they're very rude. Oh, try to ask that guy for directions, he won't give me directions. Most time it's because you're going up and you're going, here, do you know where whatever is? Like, make an attempt. You're in a country that don't speak English.
I have to say, anytime I was in Spain,
at least saying hello.
Yeah, anytime I was in Spain, I was like, they're always. I never heard of Spanish people. Spanish people are generally quite relaxed. And generally,
like people say, like the French people are very proud of their language. Like, and if you have made any attempt to speak French to a French person, they'll help you.
Oh, really? I thought I heard the other way around, where someone said to me they tried to speak French, and it was just like, oh, look at these people pathetic attempt to speak our fantastic language. Whereas it was like when someone went to German, they said Germans are the other way around. Whereas if you even attempt German, they'll help you along. It'll be like they'll be trying to figure out. But like generally, like France, Germany, Spain get so many English and Irish tourism. Like generally, like if they can't speak English, there's someone around that can. You'll be fine. It's not like South America.
But like they do speak English. But like imagine, like Irish people are great for this. Like Irish people are very like, oh, these people come over here and they don't respect the things that are in our country. They don't respect our culture. They don't respect blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm going to go to France and I'm going to refuse to speak French.
Well, do you know if you put yourself into their situation, where if someone comes over here and they start speaking a foreign language to you, and you're like, well, I don't speak your language, you're just going to go, sorry, I can't help.
This has happened to me a couple of times.
Yeah, like, you're not really going to spend a whole lot of time trying to help them out, unless they come with a solution like Google Translate, and they're like, they put into Google Translate what they want to say to you, and you'll be like, this doesn't make sense what you're trying to say to me.
Like, I've just found it the simplest thing to do. Like, I did French in secondary school, but like I don't really remember very much of it. But I found the simplest thing to do is going to France, learn how to say hi. I don't really speak French. Can you speak English? Going to Italy, learn how to say hi. I don't speak Italian. Do you speak English? Going to Spain, learn how to say hi. I don't speak Spanish. Do you speak English?
Yeah, I learned when I went to Italy. I learned prego. Because it sounds like pregnant. Prego. It means you're welcome or something like that. Thanks.
They kind of say prego for everything.
Yeah, prego. So,
it's like please, thanks, you're welcome, whatever.
Yeah. But that was my one Italian word. It's like I say thank you, prego. So that I think that's most important. Just say thank you and hello. It's very in every language. Figure out what hello is and thank you.
That's what I found when I went to France. Like everybody's like, "Oh, the French are so ignorant," especially in Paris. Oh, they're so ignorant, and I found everybody was fine.
Yeah, I think
if you go up to them and you say to them in French, you're like, "Hey, look, I don't speak French. Can you speak English?" Sometimes they might be like, "Oh, only a little," and you're like, "Okay, well, your little bit of English and my little bit of French might help there."
Yeah, well, I think generally nowadays, like. With technology, you have the option of using Google Translate for stuff. So like, even if you don't speak French or you don't know what the French for, do you speak English? Just go up, Google Translate. A lot of the Google functions will have voice things where they say it out loud. So you could stick like an earbud in and hear what it says in your ear and then vocalize it to the person who's there. So there are those options there as well with technology. I don't know how we got onto from, if you're in France, speak French from this. But anyway, the people in the Congo want to know why they're on Idiots of the Week. And we have to, I feel an obligation at this
They
point.
also speak French.
And they also speak French. Yeah, this is a nice little segue. So this all started with a trend that came from the Congo and has led to doctors urging people not to do this practice because it could be potentially dangerous. In order to get like a nice thick ass, what some people in the Congo are doing are injecting stock cubes into their ass.
Why not, like?
In order to get that nice juicy ass.
That seems like the thing to do.
Like,
what's the fucking logic behind that?
So the logic is that the salt will cause the tissues in your ass to expand, making your buttocks get really large and round. In cultures like likes of the Congo, having a nice big ass is quite appealing in order to attract other mates. But I imagine some women go, well, I'd like it because I just like myself with a big ass, and this is not about attracting a bigger mate. Basically, that's why they want it, because they want to have a nice juicy ass. So, like, these seasoning cubes contain salt and numerous other ingredients that can, like, potentially, majority of which, like, goes into your bloodstream. And, like, if you're injecting a lot of salt into your bloodstream, it can cause you to go extremely dehydrated, which obviously in parts of the Congo can be quite dangerous, especially when water supplies can be quite scarce, and has even led to people dying of this. It can also lead to infections and other kind of problems surrounding, like, your ass.
No shit. Injecting stock cubes into your arse can give you an infection, really?
Didn't like stock cubes. It's like salt, sugar, chili peppers, cloves, onion, corn starch, some gluten, or MSG problems, like monosodium gluten is in what you call it, and palm oil. And then there's also soy and also caramel coloring. It's what makes up, like,
basically it's a whole bunch of do not inject.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, and you know what, Vice did a piece on this where they went to send a reporter to the Congo and it showed, like, a woman injecting it into her ass, and she's like, I've heard about the dangers, but I'm going to continue to do it.
Like cow's blood running in it.
Well, no, well, that would only cure you of any disease that you ever had. Surely, Ken, we all know this.
Yeah, that might be too safe.
Every now and again, there's these weird, and generally, it's women, like, body transformation things that instead of getting surgery or instead of, like, lifting weights and properly dieting and putting the work in, inject this into your ass. Or
same effects without all the hard work.
People want bigger lips, and they're sucking their lips into, like, a shot glass.
Yeah,
and it was causing like a really big swelling.
It was causing all sorts of problems.
I know a few girls that tried that.
Yeah,
but, like, I just don't understand. I really don't understand it. Like, yeah, it's weird. You don't really see a male equivalent of this.
No, not really. No, but I think it's probably because women are kind of held to higher beauty standards by other women.
Yeah, it's definitely, kind of women criticize, women judge.
Like a man could get away with
not
whatever.
Showering and lads.
So
like I just I don't know. Stop injecting Congo people stock cubes into your asshole.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know in terms of, maybe it's the blood infection that caused people deaths. Maybe it's injected so much that their asshole covered up, so their ass was just so thick they couldn't get the shit out. But yeah, some people dying. It's like thing to risk. Like you have, I could potentially die, or I could have a nice juicy ass.
Oh, you're definitely going to take the juicy ass, aren't you?
Oh yeah, 100%. Just walking around, going shaking your ass, doing that dance for the. But like it is so popular that the Congo injecting stock cubes into your ass has even like penetrated mainstream like culture, and it has references to women injecting stock cubes in their ass in songs that are popular in the Congo.
For fuck's sake!
Yeah, there's like people singing about it in songs about injecting stock cubes into your ass.
About the juicy asses that they got from injecting stock cubes.
Yeah, like encourage them to inject half a cube, full cube, 2 cubes into their ass, because make it nice and large. I wonder if it tastes like stock cube if you bite into.
Oh Jesus! You can test out that theory.
Well, yeah. If lads are some lads like to eat from both sides of the dinner. I wonder if there's a hint of like stock cube.
I think of it as a stock cube.
Ooh, caramel seasoning.
Does it have to be any particular type of stock cube? Like, does it have to be a beef stock cube? Does it have to be a chicken stock cube?
Well, like pushing more stereotypes along, generally is chicken stock cubes.
Jesus. Not even beef stock cube.
No, like that's pushing another stereotype, chicken.
Surely beef is the most popular stock cube.
No, there's a stereotype around where black people like fried chicken. I'm not saying that's accurate, but like that's why I say like pushing more stereotypes. That's generally
you're not saying that's accurate, but you're hinting at it.
I'm hinting that it is a little bit ironic that they use chicken. Maybe chicken stock cubes easier to come by. I wouldn't say beef.
It actually is a chicken stock cube. Like, you didn't just make that up there.
No. They generally is chicken stock cubes.
Maybe they're easier to get.
I wouldn't say there are a lot of like beef is eaten in the Congo. It'd be very hard to get like cows. I say I wouldn't say it'd be as widely available as like Ireland or the US. I say that there is cows there. There is like beef, but it might be a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, maybe. They're probably those horrible bony cows that you see in Spain.
Yeah, exactly. They're not Frisian.
I don't know why I'm picking on Spain today.
Yeah, exactly. Spain's getting a fucking ton of views here. But like it's just I don't know what's the oddest like beauty fad that I've tried, but injecting stock cube in the ass is will be probably up there.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a weird one.
Yeah. I can't wait for the male equivalent of like a beauty fad to come along that people have to tell.
Injecting a stock cube into your dick.
Yeah, exactly. Like just letting your dick get right amount of infection where it doesn't really hurt, but it looks more swollen.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think women are just more susceptible to
beauty fad. Yeah, like. There isn't a whole lot of things lads can inject to make them look more muscular.
Well, even just in general, like just like kind of beauty fads in general, like it's you like maybe kind of young guys, but women of every age.
Yeah, we'll get like sucked into these things. Yeah, I think it's well known. So like lads are generally probably more likely to take steroids or take stuff like that in terms of like. Get themselves look bigger, but generally that what lads want to be. They either want to be bigger or like maybe less hair nowadays.
Less hair.
So that's generally like there's some weird thing you just shave it off or like do cow blood injections. Maybe that is a lad's equivalent. Like some lads we heard of who injects cow blood into us. Cures all who what ailed you.
And some of what doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. I think that'll be enough for our show today. It was odd.
We've gotten enough trouble.
Yeah, we got odd. It got odd near the end and at the start. But Do you know what? That's what you sign up to when you start listening to the Shite Talk podcast show.
Unfortunately, for you.
We'll be one show away from next week from 190. It'll be 189. So that'll be something to look forward to. You can tune in. And
It's
make
going
sure
to be a big, exciting show.
A lot of shit talk about there. And we'll be, if you want to make sure you don't miss our 189th show, subscribe now to wherever you're listening to the podcast. And we'll be back next week.
Hopefully,
if we're not cancelled.
Yeah, before cancel culture gets a hold of us.
Talk to you then.
Good luck.
Shut up and sit down.